the way you learn is very fast.
Yeah.
And I think that I don't put, for example, update, okay, and just click on the, for example, the task, and it has changed to the input. Is it possible to do it?
Sorry, I didn't follow.
For example, I have a I don't know div or everything, and push on the click on the task, and it's automatically changed to the input type. Is it possible? Or after that, with the enter, it's saved.
One is your UI logic, and one is your component logic. I better to think two things separately actually.
Yeah.
So what I understood that, so in your UI you have a list of to-dos, and you would like to click on particular to-do item, and then
when I click on it, it changed to the input.
yeah, that you already did actually, I think. But in your case, you made all available to edit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just what you need to do. If this ID match, then just create a text box with that ID. That's very easy thing actually. Hopefully Unas will explain it very soon.
Yeah. So I hope it's a bit clear about state props.
We have on click, more than on click. We have, for example, on submit.
Yeah.
What function more we have? For example, if we have, for example, on Intel or another one.
Yeah. You have everything that you had in HTML. You remember? At event lister, click, mouse. You can say, for example, on mouse, enter, on mouse.
Where can I find the document for that one?
On MDM, you can find them. Mozilla documentation. You can just search MDM JavaScript events, and you can see a list of all of them. Some of them are like with the mouse, some of them are with the keyboard.
Yeah.
And there's like 100. I can send it in there.
Yeah, that would be cool. And like it's everything you had in HTML before, keyboard events, everything you had here. So for example, on key,
Can I say one?
on key down,
For example,
on key up.
Thank you.
You say on key up,
do something.
and you pass it the same, like on click. And you have like here the event, and you say event.keycode and stuff.
Oh.
Okay?
Yeah.
So it's like you can say console.log e. This one is not.
In what on key up?
Yeah.
In on key press?
Add to hello. It's
Yeah.
add to the market.
Second, if it's correct, it should be correct. It should be correct.
No, the on key up add to the H1.
Ah, you want to add it to the H1?
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know.
It's not really a keyboard event, but if you have like, I don't know, if you have an input or something, it will be triggered on it. But the thing is like, you have everything you had access to before.
Not
So there's
on key press. Because
there
I
is
tried
on key press, there is on key up, there is on key down, there is
But
like
I tried on key up to instead of going with the mouse to add, I do just enter.
Yeah.
And it worked. But I tried on key up, it didn't work really.
okay, but there is all the event. It's the same thing. You work with them in thing. So as he said, there is the MDN documentation, and there is also React events if you want to synthetic event. So this is the list of all the events that you can have in React. Yeah. So what he posted is the. So it's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
This one is more general. You need it everywhere, and this one is just React specific. But you need this one first because this is the basic.
Yeah.
This is the basic. This one is just a wrapper on this one.
Oh.
Okay. This is just how React uses this, but this is the core.
The only difference is that you add on before, so
Yeah.
it could be on click, and when it's just called click, you just add on before it.
What?
I remember that guy.
So, if everything is clear, we can go do another thing. Maybe. Okay, everything is clear. Good to go. So we will talk today about data fetching. So we will try to fetch some data because until now our application have been like working so far only with local data. But in real application, I need to go to the server, fetch some data, something from JSON and stuff like that, like we did with movies and stuff in the old classes. So this is what we will try to do.
Could you record?
I'm actually doing it. Yeah, I'm doing it. Thank you for. Yeah. So yeah. And a simple application that we will try to practice on is, I don't know, fetching some APIs. For me, I prefer the Giphy API. I don't know what. You know Giphy?
No.
Do you know this website? Ah, you are missing a lot. You are missing a lot. This is so funny. So it's a website where you can search for like GIFs and memes. So if say dog.
GIF.
You know, like you can search for GIFs.
GIF.
It's like a GIFs. It's really famous. Like everybody uses it on Messenger. So if you look for I don't know, the developer.
Language.
Yeah. This is funny. This is funny. This is funny. This is funny. But yeah, but you get the idea. So we will try to actually. So they have an API, so we can fetch data from it, like movies and stuff. So I don't know if you like this API or not, but
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, funny.
it's funny, it's good, and it's real. So a lot of people uses it. So we can refer to the developer API. I don't want to search for docs.
Yeah.
I will log in, and yeah. So I don't want to remember. Do I have? No, I don't. Something is happening on my computer. Seriously? No. Fuck. That's not. I don't know if I already did it with Facebook. Yes! Cool. Yes. I still remember the password. So we have the Giphy API and you remember API keys? Did you work with that a bit?
Never.
Okay, so it's just because when I will call their APIs, they need somehow a way to say which one is calling our API. It's like Facebook. They know which one is sending the messages. So an API key is like a unique ID, long ID, to distinguish which developer is calling our API. So this is an API key.
Okay.
Okay, and it's secret. So no one, for example, if anyone can call this API, so someone can call it and say I'm Yunus, and I'm calling your API. But this one is secret.
Mm-hmm.
It's not secret anymore. It will be on YouTube, but it should be secret. It should be secret. You know what I mean? Like it should be secret. So this is like a secret that it's me who's calling it. It's like a password, but for an API.
But you can change it as well.
They give it to you.
Request the production key.
Yeah, they give it. They generate a new key and they give it to you. But it's
Yeah.
not like your name or
So
something.
don't worry about it.
Yeah, but I'm not using this for production. But this is the idea. You should never hide because if you change it, that means you need to change it in your application. And stuff.
So for example, we are going to make an app and we are getting API from
Facebook.
or other places. We never should
No,
should
no.
show it
For example,
to-
Facebook applications
Yeah.
that shares instead of you and gains.
Yeah.
Facebook give them like a token. It's called the token API key, and that token can distinguish which application is calling Facebook. It's like which user is calling Facebook, and this is why we need the API key. So it's not fancy, it's just a way to say it's like you are 1, you are 2, you are 3, you are 4.
Even I can fetch posts from, for example, another person in my website. It should be.
Yeah, exactly. You can do that. So let's do that. So let's say API.
Oh, okay, and how you will understand what kind of objects they will give you?
Yeah,
For
I will
example,
look at their result and see. Oh, it's an array with an object, and they have this.
Where do you look at it?
When I so
Console it.
you either console it or you can look at it here in the documentation. Usually they have the so if you go to Facebook API developer.
Uh-huh.
No doc. Which
Reading the
graph
artificial
graph
intelligence-
what?
Artificial intelligence.
No, we don't want that.
React. Here we go. Open source.
No man, it's just a second. Facebook Graph API. Yeah, this one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so no. Using the Graph API.
Narrate.
Yeah, for example, this one.
An object.
They have like when you send the graph user ID feed, so you want to get the feed for this user ID. This like could be 5, 6. Okay?
Okay.
The feed means like you need to run like the feed.
Okay.
It will return you an object with
Like
data,
this. Data.
and each
To-
feeds like each post
Okay.
with created ad, the message, and the ID of the post.
Okay.
And you can redraw. This is for example getting the user information, hometown, birthday, email, ID.
Okay.
This is the date. Like, so usually either you go with this. If you have a really complex API like Facebook, you need to do this. But for the Giphy, I usually just console.log it and say, oh, it's an object. With the console.log, I can see. Okay, so here you can say, for example, in the search, they give you data with type and images and stuff.
Okay.
They have a clear documentation.
They will give you a file like this.
Not a file. This is the JSON result.
JSON, yes. That. So you can use whatever you want from this
Yeah.
information. Oh.
Whatever they want you to use.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but usually
Yes.
everything they provide you can use it.
Yeah.
This is the idea. So let's go and so if we will do this and send request, choose an endpoint, search, trending. Let's say trending. So this is what they return.
Okay.
So this is trending, like the best memes or the best gifs that they are like around in the internet.
Okay.
Trending. It's like trending on YouTube or something. So the API is this one. So this is the API call.
So you just copy it and you fetch it.
So this is the API call. It's API Giphy v1 trending. You give it the API key as a query params. You remember query params?
Yeah.
Query params on the URL. And you give it limit. Limit is like, do I need 30, 50, 60? How much I need? And rating. Rating is like, I want the best. I want them alphabetically. Like, it doesn't matter. What really matters here is like the API key.
And you have to put your API key.
It's my API key already
Yeah.
because I'm exploring my
Okay.
account.
Okay.
This is not general. This is my
Yeah,
account.
Yes.
But yeah, if I don't have an API key, I will copy it
And change
and paste it here.
Okay.
Make sense? So if we go to this URL, that should give us data. So let's try to do that in JavaScript. Let's just go. Let's create here, for example, a new file and call it. I don't know. Get or let's call it.
Fetch a JSON
I will create a folder so we can have like more structure.
API.
components.
No, let's call it specific to this one. Let's go Giphy. Okay. Giphy search. We will search Giphies. Okay. Whatever, as you said, it doesn't matter. New file, and now we can say get. How's it called?
JSON.
get Giphy. We need to give it descriptive name. Get JSON could be anything. .js. Okay.
Yeah.
Say get Giphies. So we will create a function called get Giphies.
Okay.
And before that we will have URL const URL equal this one.
Okay.
Okay. I will do something. I will copy this and I will do this. API key.
So you don't show it.
We will show it, but if we don't want to show it, we cannot show it easily. But now we will show it, but just to abstract it, so we don't need to mix it. Is it clear? Just like extracting it to a so I will not have like super long URL. It's super annoying. Okay, so here usually what fetch precisely. So we would do a fetch with what?
URL.
With the URL.
And it will give you a
A
promise.
promise.
From it.
Precisely.
So you do
So I do it then,
Then,
and the then will give me the response.
yeah. Response.
I need to convert it to JSON.
Response.json.
Yes, because it's JSON. I know that it's JSON.
Okay.
After that, I can say then
Then it will.
I have the data.
Yes.
show-
Yeah.
So I will say data. And say console.log data. Let's hope that will work. Usually it doesn't from the first time. So it should work, but let's see.
But where are you going to locate it? Okay.
We are not calling it.
Yes.
Yes. So let's create a new. So let's just call it here. Okay. Let's just do it randomly. Just call it
So
here.
call it with a button.
Which button? No, after. But now we are just trying. We are playing with the API. It doesn't work because I'm not importing the file.
Yeah.
So I will go to. I will create a new file here called index.js
Okay.
and say import. So I need to export this one.
Oh yes.
I will say import get Giphies because it's not default export. So I need to wrap it in the curly braces.
Okay.
And I will say get Giphies. And still, so instead of calling it here, I will call it here, so we can have a bit more clear. And I will go to the index and import it.
Okay.
Like the theme is the theme index.js. Can
No,
you
this
choose
is
it?
the main.
This is the main one
Yeah.
because we have this one here and we have the main one.
But will not cause any problem if you.
So I will say import. This is a trick. I will change it after that, but I will say import
Search,
Giphy search.
then index.js.
Yeah, or I can say import X from, and we can remove the index because as we said last time, if it's index,
You don't think that
yeah, X here doesn't do anything.
But the last one was much better. Okay.
Yeah, X
But
doesn't do
have
anything.
you imported?
No, you didn't.
We did
Oh, you just call it. Okay.
we did import this one
Okay.
from this one, and it's importing this one.
Okay. And now.
So now we have the data it's a JSON, because we said give us 25.
Yes.
With the data, with meta is like information like status, response, pagination. Like I can paginate over the result because there's a lot of result. So you can 25, the second 25, the third 25, and keep going on.
Can you open it?
This one?
That's the first line.
Yeah.
It's
It's an array of objects.
yes.
So what we are interested in is
The image.
it's data.data.
Yes.
So instead of naming it data, we can say here response. And say response.data.
So you change the variable, it's not the thing.
Yeah.
I'm very confused.
So now we have only the data. It's an array. Okay? So what I can do here, I have the array. You can imagine that it's just a to-do list.
Yeah.
I can iterate over the array
No.
and show it in allies. Is this a bit clear? because we have an array, and we can just iterate map over the array, and say for h1 render a p or an image. We will render an image tag. Is it clear a bit? Just we are trying to map. So React doesn't enforce anything on you about data fetching or anything. You can use the same data fetching things that you were using before with jQuery and with JavaScript, all JavaScript. And you can just like get it and is this clear?
No.
A
Yes.
bit like but there is only one problem, which is this data is fetched here, but I don't need it here. I need it inside my component
Why?
because I want so how the component can access this data.
You already have done it.
Yeah, but I'm calling it here. But let's say the to-do list component needs this data. How we can do that?
It's like this state, isn't it? It should refer to the same
Yeah.
component every time.
Exactly. It should be inside the component. Because if a component needs data, this component, that component should be responsible for the data. You know what I mean? It's like when we had before stuff and we put it inside the state. So a component should have everything to function.
But what if you just make it as a props on the list and then you call it somewhere? Like
Yeah, we can definitely do that,
We
but
definitely
we need it
do
inside the
many
component.
times.
We
it
need
has
it.
to be, yeah.
We need it inside the component.
Yeah.
At the second, at the third, at the fifth, we need it somehow inside the component. So let's create a component. So we have index.js. I will just create a component here, and after that we can put it to another file. It's index.js inside Giphy. Okay. So I'll put it here. I will remove this line. Like class Giphy search. Okay. Extends React. And I didn't import React. Okay. Good to go? Good to go. Render. Return. Let's say hello. It doesn't matter. Now we need to render this component. So instead of importing Giphy, we will say export default Giphy search. Okay?
So you
And
can
import it
make
here. We just created a component and we imported it. Clear? If you have anything, just stop me. Otherwise, I will not notice that you have problem. So I will say here, this is my Giphy search app. Clear? Now let's go and say, yeah, it's working. Because hello is it's coming from Giphy. So yeah, so until now we are good. Yeah, so this is the Giphy and we don't need anything. So here I want to render a list of Giphies. This is the idea that I'm trying. I have all the images and I want to render all of them. But before rendering it, we need to think about how my component will interact with the API. So the component is responsible for calling this function and getting the promise. It's not that somewhere else we will call it, because this component needs the data, not somewhere else. So inside the component, we need to call our function, okay, and fetch the data. So when we say inside our component, we need to do something. That means like we need to put it inside one of the life cycles, either the constructor, or component did mount, or component will end mount, or I need to put it somewhere.
Of course, it should be in constructor.
It should. Why it should be? Yeah, this is actually a popular choice.
Or in your state. No, I don't
No, no,
know.
but where I will run it? Well, I will run the function. For me, at least like how I think about it, I will run the function on the component did mount.
Yeah,
When the component is done mounting on the screen,
Mhm.
I will do the API call.
yeah.
Okay.
You know what I mean? This is how I'm thinking about it. But you can also do it in the constructor. The only problem with the constructor, let's say you have like thousands of components, and all of them, they will call the constructor before showing, because the constructor is called before the render. You remember? So they will all call the constructor and fetch the data inside the constructor.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So before rendering, we are fetching data. This is waste. So let's establish that the component will render. It's ready. It's on the screen. Now I'm ready to fetch data. The same way you think about it, like when you open a discussion on Facebook. When you open like a discussion box, when you click on it, it's mounted. You fetch all the messages that you have with this user. This is how you should think about it. So you don't fetch the data unless you need it. You don't start fetching data randomly. I need this, I need this, I need this, no. Because that will cause the user a lot of stuff. The user, for example, if the user wants to check the feed, he doesn't need the messages.
You should fetch it
When you need it. Yeah. So if the user wants the feed, you should just fetch the feed. You don't need to fetch the messages.
So
When the user
put in a construct.
Yeah, when the user click on one of the his friends and open the chat box, we can fetch the messages. Is it clear?
Yeah.
So we will go to the component did mount, and we will call Giphy here. Okay, means after rendering the component, I will call the
You just close the.
yeah, I did something super wrong.
Yeah, the last one, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so we have here the data.
Show it again, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
This and in the Giphy component. In the did mount, it's like just imagine that we are saying console.
Okay. Oh, okay, I got it.
And we are calling a function instead.
Okay.
So when the component will be done rendering, let's fetch data. But a lot of people actually do it in the constructor. That's not wrong. You can do it. Like for this simple use case, you can easily do that. Props, super props. And you have your data.
Yeah.
So what you are saying is not wrong. So
No. Just do it the best way.
yeah. So we are here.
Okay.
So now we have this, but we need to render it here.
Okay.
And we will have different states. Not state as like state of the React state, but different state. What I mean about that? Because, for example, let's say so in a lot of websites you see like a loader when you are fetching data. What does it mean? Sometimes if the network is slow, you show a loader. So somehow in the state, in the React state, we can say if loading is true, show a loader. Otherwise, show the data. How we can achieve that? We can have a key in our state and say is loading true or false while we are loading. So when we call this function, we say I'm loading. When we are done, in the then this one, we flip it to false. Okay? So let's do that. Let's create state. I will do it the easy way. And I will say, so instead of putting it in string, I would say, I would have, so this is how you should think about it. Like before coding the application, you need to think about all the possible state that you have. So in this simple app or this simple component, I would say I have 3 states. Loading, done, and error. I don't know if you agree with me or not.
What do you want to do in the end of this application?
So I want to fetch the list and display it.
Just display and okay.
Yeah. At least now. This is the requirement.
Okay. Yes.
So I need to fetch, and while fetching, that means it's loading.
Yeah.
When it's done, I mean it's done.
Yeah.
And if there is an error, no internet, no connection, it will be error.
But
Yes.
when you fetching, it's very fast and you
Yeah,
won't be
it's for you.
paid
It's for
loading.
you. It's for you. But if you deploy it to a user, you don't know what the user is doing. Sometimes websites are slow.
Okay, maybe here you can set time and make it delay. for
Or
you.
we can do something. We
no,
can.
no, no, no. The idea, why set time and delay?
Because when it's delaying,
Yeah.
actually you don't have the information, you don't have the API.
But that's not
No, just for
You
for-
can
for
simulate that.
example.
You can simulate that with the browser.
Yeah.
You can go to network and say slow.
Okay, right, like this. Yeah. No, I just.
And if it's slow, it's like we are waiting. No.
Yeah, like this.
Yeah. So it took a lot of time. So we don't know if your user is on a fast internet or slow internet. You need to optimize for the best case and provide the visual feedback.
Yeah.
If I'm loading, if I'm not. Is this clear?
Cool.
And if there is an error, so we say offline. So slow. Failed to fetch. I have an error because it's offline.
Yeah.
Maybe the user has internet, but after that, he will not have internet or something. And is this clear that we are trying to model our interaction or our application in a state somehow? This is really the idea behind React, is to model the stuff that you have. For example, in the to-dos, I have initially an empty array with is editing false. And when I add one to the array, and the array will be is editing false, and the to-do will be one item. This is how you should think about it. Every time you refer to your state, as he said, as Shenwa said, the state is your source of truth. At any point, the state should hold a true value and a correct value. So every time you think about this, if you are fetching this, of course, if you don't really care, if you are building just if a client comes to you and say, I want this application to be done in 2 hours, you don't care about loading. Just like do the request, show the data, and it's done. You know what I mean? But if you are working in a project where there's a lot of money and like users and stuff, like you need to be careful, like Facebook and stuff. So it's also about time. But is this clear what I'm trying to achieve here?
Yes.
So, and before that, we need a place where we can store the data. Okay? What's the best candidate to store the data?
Yes.
Why?
At every time it's should you can update it.
Yeah, so if I need to update the data, I should put it in the state so I can render it. And in this time, in this like application, I will update it because initially I will have like an empty array.
Okay.
Okay,
If I want to
I will have data, empty array. When I will get the data, I will change this empty array with the array that I got from the API.
Yeah.
Is it clear?
Yes.
Initially it's empty, like the to-dos.
Yeah.
When the call will be done and successful, I grab the array, the 25 array,
Okay.
and put it here.
And if you want to upgrade the limit of the array, you have to do it.
Yeah,
again.
stuff like that.
Change again.
You got the idea? Theoretically, we will do it, but
now you have to put the set
State.
This set state
after the API will be done.
Yes.
Yeah. So instead of console.log here, sorry, in the code here,
What you have to delete?
I will just
Not the response.
I will just return this.
Okay.
And in the application, I can say then and response,
Response. Okay.
precisely.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So I can say giffies to done, and I can give it the same thing.
Oh, okay. First you call it.
So I call it,
Okay.
and that give me the then,
Okay.
and I will console.log it for now.
Okay.
Because when you call it, you get the JSON. So from the JSON, you then
Yes. Yeah.
Could you back the code?
Yeah. You know what? We should return the fetch. We're not returning the fetch.
Yes.
We need to return the fetch, so we can return the promise that it's coming from here.
Yes.
yeah, because when we done it, it would console. So
We didn't need the data,
Yeah.
but now we need it.
Okay.
So you can see here.
Okay.
And it's fetched here inside the component Denmark.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes. Then you have to write this. Okay. In here you have to write. This.
Set state.
Yeah. Set state.
Yes. This dot set.
state. In parentheses. Date.
Data.
Data. Sorry. Data.
It's response to data.
response to data.
Because the response to data is the array.
Yes.
And that should work.
But you will not see anything.
We will not see anything. But if we go to React
Yes.
and we go to app, Giphy search, we have the state with the data and 25. So I know now that it's inside the state. Okay?
Now we see on the
Okay.
state.
It's inside the state. What I did here is like I replaced this
Okay.
with the array that I
Yeah.
fetched. Is this clear?
Yes.
So now what we can do here, we can map over
The data.
the data and show it. But so but as we said, like we can actually the render it's happening before the component
Yeah,
did
that's
map.
Sorry,
what I'm
one
trying to
question.
say.
The response.data is an array.
Response is the object with data and meta and pagination, if you remember.
Okay. And actually inside of this data is the object.
Inside what?
Inside the line 8.
Yeah, it's an empty data.
It's an empty data, but now you change it
To the response.data, which is the 25 items array.
Okay. Okay.
You
So-
know what I mean?
okay.
So I can make it like clearer. We can do something. We can do this, okay, and say const new data.
No, I could understand the last way. It wasn't very complicated for me. Just I wanted to know right now inside of the array we have objects or another array.
We have another array.
We have another array.
Yeah,
Okay.
because if we console.log new data,
It's an array of objects.
Array of object.
like let's
So
console.
actually you didn't need to make an array. You just put null.
We can
Yeah,
put
you can
null.
do it. I mean, I think I was thinking
Yeah.
about
How
it.
you initialize the data, it's up to you.
Yeah.
I'm putting like I've put in an array just like to describe that this array will change
Okay.
over time. Right? But it's
I
you are
just
100%
wanted to
correct.
know it is.
You are 100% correct. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's make it tricky. Let's make it undefined.
Yeah. Like
Let's make it tricky.
Because it's not undefined anyway.
Yeah.
no.
It's not
If there is an
defined.
error, it will be undefined.
Yes.
Or if the API will take a long time, it will be undefined. So next to it, we need something. We need to check: are we loading? Is it an error? Is it the data?
Condition. No.
No, we can just have like a variable here or inside the state, and we call it state, not state.
Is that
No, not the status.
That's
Status.
She was saying state. You are stealing her.
Loading.
No, but it could be loading. It could be done. It could be
If
error.
it was false, it's loading.
So I need three variables now.
le-
I need variable for loading and for error and for.
Okay, okay.
So we need one name. How we can name it? I don't know.
The
It's loading.
condition.
It's loading.
But we need one for all of them. It's like it will be string.
Check. Checking.
You know what I mean? It will be
Yeah,
string like
yeah.
in enum. It will be an
How is
enum.
it
Yeah.
going?
It's super difficult to name stuff.
Yeah.
It's
It's
super.
implementing. It's implementing.
process, you can say
Oh,
process.
yes, process.
Because it's a three process.
No, I like it. People will confuse it with other processes.
It's
Okay,
better. It's better. Yeah, yeah.
I will name it.
That's better everywhere.
I will say request state.
Okay.
Okay, let's be descriptive. Request state.
Yeah.
And initially, let's say it's loading.
Okay.
Because initially we are loading.
Okay.
Make sense?
So if there is an error, you will change this. You know, you will change the
Yeah,
request.
yeah.
So
state to
inside,
error.
when the data will resolve, I will say request state done.
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 Okay. Yes. Okay.
And I will say catch if there is an error.
E or
If request.
Okay? If there is an error, I will say this
that state, that request state.
set state
request.
state.
Uh,
I'll just say error. It's a string.
no.
Okay.
That means that I have an error.
Console log the error so you can see
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
that the object changed something on the state.
Clear?
Okay. You didn't. Okay.
What?
No, nothing.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is how we can know, we have to console it anyway, because how we can know now is that the
But-
request state key have changed his value from loading to error.
Okay. Now go to your
Just
get
delete one.
giffies and change. Yes. For example, delete one of those app API key.
Oh, you mean like
I
let's
just want to know if there is some. Okay.
3
And-
plus 3.
And refresh it.
that would be an error.
Okay.
But my application is still running.
Yes. Yes.
But it's not showing the error like before. But there is an error here.
Yeah. That's fine.
Like 403, so it's forgotten, something forgotten.
Make sense?
What was this extension that you used? Yeah. No.
This one?
No. Go to your yes. You open that.
Oh, you mean this one?
Yes.
Oh, to hide the
It's not.
browser.
Sandbox.
It's called Code Sandbox.
Okay.
You can just code online.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So now instead of mapping, we can go here. Now I have enough information in the render to say what I'm doing. So I can say, for example, if, so I will say const this dot state
Does that mean everything?
Yes. Data
request data and data.
and it.
So if request data,
equal to done.
let's handle loading first
Okay.
because that's what we have first.
Okay.
If it's loading, I'll say return. Let's say h3
It's loading.
okay.
Other one
L
else. If
uh,
else.
yeah.
No, I
Because
don't
we
think-
have
Else-
three
I don't
columns.
think-
else if request,
equal to done.
let's say error.
Okay.
Let's handle all the difficult cases first. After that, I know that I'm good. So if I handle everything at the top
Okay.
and it will pass through at the end, I know that I have
So
data.
you had to put the error in the first line. Okay.
I'm just like I'm follow
exception, the
because like in the beginning when you enter this, it will be loading first. No, like I'm trying to follow the flow of the.
Okay.
But it's you can flip them. It's because it's an if else.
Okay.
Return
404. 404. Yeah.
h3. I'm gonna say there was an error.
We forgot the-
Refresh. Yeah.
After the opening curly bracket after the if statement, the
True.
else if statement.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And one split. Okay.
That should be correct.
And,
And now we can say else. And I know that it's done.
Done.
I can keep checking else if done, but that's not necessary. I can say return.
Data.
Or just say done, because we need to do a lot of work here.
But you
Loading
just
done.
return
See,
done.
with
You have to
it's in
put
the
So
in
fast
the.
because
Yeah.
it goes so fast on loading.
So let's go and say network slow is loading, is loading,
Where-
is
where
loading.
it written?
Done.
Done.
He was
So
confused.
sorry, I was
He was like,
looking-
ah.
I
No,
was
no.
looking
Look
for-
at this. Look at this.
Refresh again, please.
It's
Oh,
loading.
okay.
It's loading. When it's done.
Done. Yeah.
So you can replace is loading with the beautiful spinner. You know what I mean? With
Yeah.
cool CSS and animations.
Yeah.
It's outside of our scope.
We can make a page for that, you know.
We
HTML
can. We
and
can make a
CSS.
component.
Yeah.
We can. Yeah. It's yeah. Clear?
Yes.
And if we do that and we say, I will do this, is slow, refresh, follow this, there was an error. Okay. So now if there's an error, we will catch it. So here I'm sure that I have the data. So what I can do is map over the data because it's an array. So I can say data.
Can we make a component somewhere else?
Okay,
And
Giphy.
then come here.
Giphy list.
Okay.
Something like this.
Yeah. It's good.
And we say list or items.
Item.
It's data.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is what you refer to. And we can create a new file.
Something is
The data props. Yes.
Oh, okay.
The data is props.
Yes.
Okay.
And we can say this.props.items
Yeah.
inside the Giphy list.
Cool.
So let's say import React from React,
Okay.
and we can make it a function. Function Giphy list,
Okay.
or let's fill our class. Extends React component. Render, return hello. Okay. Export default Giphy list. And we import it
You
here.
have to import here as well.
Import Giphy list from Giphy list. Are we good to go? We are good to go. Okay. There's console.log here. Yeah, we are console the response. So now we can map over the data and show it. Let's say const items this.props. This.props.items.
Okay,
It's the data.
Yeah, yes, yes.
Say items.map.
Item.map, yes.
Say we can say Giphy, like just one Giphy, because it's a list of Giphies. It's just like one Giphy.
You wanted the title. What do you want now?
Yeah. So let's just return a dummy thing for now.
Okay.
Let's return dummy thing, and we say I don't know. So let's drop this in the UL. Okay. And items. So we follow Christopher advice last time. Said like we should not map and put the stuff inside here.
No.
That will make it like clunky, like
Yeah,
really
exactly.
weird.
More complex.
Yes, and it's difficult to. So we put a function here called this
Okay.
render Giphies.
Okay.
Okay.
Then you have to make a
Render
render
Giphies.
Which is okay.
And technically we can just grab this and put it there
Yeah.
because it's inside.
Yes.
So now we'll say return.
And
Let's just make it an
then
li. And
the bracket.
I just need to look at the.
Data.
No, you delete the console.
Yeah, I can just take it from here. So type ID slug. So each data has this
Image.
bit.ly. Let's take just the title, for example, or let's take the image straight away. Let's take the image straight away. So you can see here that it has images.
Okay.
So
You have
so
the URL there.
yeah, so I can say Giphy
Giphy. Okay.
dot images.
Okay.
Because it,
That will give me this object.
Okay.
I will open it.
Uh-huh.
And I will say fixed height, fixed width. So let's take the fixed height. This is just like, also let's say original. This is like different.
But now you will get all the photos.
Yeah, but just so you can see, the photos are in different formats. You can pick any one of them. It's like fixed width, fixed height,
for the
small,
phone,
download,
for the
video.
tablet, for the
Make sense? So I will take, for example, the
Original.
yeah. Let's take the original, or I will take the fixed height because we want like one height.
Okay.
It's their stuff. It's not our stuff.
What?
So let's say fixed height. So let's take fixed height. Okay.
Okay.
It's just a key.
Fix. Okay. Then.
That you
And inside fixed height, there's URL.
Okay. But now you need to
Put in an
the
image. Yes, I'm just trying to show the URL. It's like step after step.
Yes.
We don't want to go fully complex.
Yeah.
And there should be a huge error.
Um, okay. So
So
you just get the.
console.log. Let's see why it's not showing.
This doesn't have any meaning now.
Yeah. So we have the URL here,
Yeah.
but it's not showing anything.
You have to put it in an image if you want.
I just want to show the text. You know what I mean?
No.
Just, and it's empty. This is weird. Oh yeah, I know why it's empty.
You didn't put in the.
We didn't
No.
return here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to return the.
So now we have like a list of it. But this is stupid. We need to actually show
Yeah.
an image. And as you said, this is the URL. I will say,
Just on
const URL equal this.
you return on.
And I will say
IMG
image,
SRC.
yeah, source,
Uh-huh.
it's,
And yes, inside of it, yeah. And you need alt as well. Okay. Perfect.
okay,
Yeah. And now you can style the list or.
say alt later. We can do it
But you
later.
can take it from the object as well. I
Yeah,
think.
let's do that.
But,
Let's.
but don't make it.
Yeah, but it's
now-
because it's repetitive. So I will just I will like it's the styling is a bit it's hurting me a bit. So I would say here you will
Display black.
But whenever you refresh it, you will get the
new ones.
Yeah,
Why?
because it's random. The whole
It's
data
random.
comes
Why?
Random.
But the API they shouldn't be
Yes,
random.
but what happens
But because
when
it's called
you-
trending. It's like YouTube. When you every time you refresh, you get
Every
videos,
time.
different videos on YouTube, because it's called trending. They are just generating videos and give it to you. So this one is also generating images and give it to you.
But the API shouldn't be random.
What do you mean like the API shouldn't be random?
It's
For example, Facebook. For example, Facebook.
It takes the last 25. So
It's the last 25.
Okay.
So if Facebook, if you enter your feed now, you refresh it,
Yes.
and new ones, you refresh it, and new ones. This is what we mean by
Because
random.
there are thousands of
But
times-
the API which is they keep it somewhere.
No,
they
it's
never change it.
they change it because there's new data coming. You know what I mean? Your friend is posting new things. Someone is posting a comment. So the data is is changing all the time. Is updating all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is if it's a to-do list, it will never change. But these complex applications like YouTube and stuff, and someone uploaded the video and stuff, so it's like it changes.
Okay, but and if we get the information from the specific IDs, we will get the right photos
Yeah,
every time.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So for example, I can map the images and take the image of the ID of the image here and do something with it. That's not random.
Okay.
But here I'm asking for random data.
Okay.
Give me the
you
latest.
Get the random data.
Yes, it's called trending.
Okay.
And trending is changing all the time.
Okay.
It's like Facebook, the feed is changing all the time,
Yeah.
but the messages are not changing all the time. It's like different APIs.
Now refresh it, it's change the picture, isn't it?
Yeah, it should. But it's not that frequent.
Oh.
This is not like Facebook or something. Okay, so just something. I will say class name. I will say Giphy. I will say list.
Don't use too much list. Okay. You can give the flex and give flex.
Oof.
Yeah.
Let's say
Let's
just
do
sec. Yeah, list style none. Body 0. Alright, good.
You want to?
Yeah.
The body
Okay.
We
should
can use
solid-
for up.
No.
Flex,
Yes.
wrap. Or it's wrap.
Not wrap.
It's wrap.
No, wrap.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it looks good to some extent. So this is like, I don't know, like there's a lot. It's so distracting. You cannot focus with me now. Like they have like screen full of games. Any questions?
Okay, you know, when in some website, when you get the API, for example, I have to get permission from the users.
Yeah,
So what we should?
that's a different type of app. That's not related to React or anything.
Okay.
That's not related to React. That's JavaScript.
Maybe.
You need to actually go and like ask for permission and like use OAuth and stuff. Go to the documentation of the
Yeah.
provider.
Yeah.
But that's not related to
Yes, you're right.
what we are doing now. Questions? Is it clear? You will be doing a lot of this everywhere. Because when you go to every application, it's like a lot of data fetching. You fetch this, you fetch that, you fetch that. Is it clear?
Yes.
Can you do it alone? Like this? Why?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do it.
It's clear. You just initialize the data,
Yeah.
and on the did mount you do the request. If it's success, you set the data. If it's catch, you say error, and here you check if it's an error. It's quite simple.
Yes.
Do it now.
But
We have
you
to,
said
to
you will.
register to Gypsy.
Yeah.
Gypsy.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is just one example of an API. There is a lot of APIs. You can use Facebook. You can use any APIs you like.
Or I think you all you have some kind of database, like your own API.
Yeah. I think you already did that. You built
Yeah.
your own API before
Yeah.
Yes.
in Express and Node.
Student. Student.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So you can call it here.
Yeah, just use your own API. Just run it through Express and just call it.
No, I don't know where
Then-
Yeah.
I don't know whether you have that in your machine.
Send
Yeah,
JSON.
but I prefer to take from
there is
the
some
API.
website that they will give you API, for example, for weather, for.
Yeah, most of the websites they give you, like any website you can. There is a really crazy API. But do you have any questions about this? Why we are doing that? States, props,
No, it was clear, you know. Now I can understand it.
Just like you play with the state every time.
Yes.
You keep changing the state, and the state it should be correct every time you change it, and it should be descriptive enough. So when I look at the state now, it's loading, and I don't have data. When I set it here, it's error, and I don't have data.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need to change the API.
Yeah.
You know, for example, go to the API to the get.
Oh yeah, here.
Get. Yes. For example, look right now. G. It means what does it mean?
It's like trending or something like that.
Okay.
It's the order.
Okay. Just imagine we want to make a button and then
And change this.
Change that or.
We will do that
change the
actually.
quality.
We will do that. We will do search. The next step we will do
Okay.
search. So we will have a query here.
So
it will change.
there should be some way that we can change this.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can, for example, pass. So you can move this URL here.
Like an API key.
Yeah, like the API.
yeah,
you can
yeah.
move the URL here
Yeah.
and take, for example, query here
Okay.
and put it in the URL.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just JavaScript. There is nothing related to React.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes.
So we will take a break. Next step we will do search.
Yeah.
We'll have our own input. When we search, when we submit, we will
Yeah.
fetch
Yes,
stuff.
that is good. Yeah.
But now you should go for your break.